So we ought to say congratulations to Bartosz Szmajslik.
Yes, Poland's third world champion.
It's only the third one.
Only the third one. That's bizarre, isn't it? I think when you think of the quality of riders that Poland have brought through over the years, but no, did a very solid job up against a real charging Leon Madsen, who's
was outstanding.
Well,
wasn't he?
Carrying on really his form in the second half at Cardiff, he really, and he must absolutely rue Voyens. If he hadn't been for that, I think he would have won it. But
yes,
it's about being in the right place at the right time.
The fuel tap incident. Do you reckon a mechanic might be looking for other employment on the back of that?
Who knows? It's just one of those things, and unfortunately, it's cost him the championship. But if he can carry on this form into next season, there's no reason why he can't be up there again.
Absolutely. But, he's got to be looking for it for next season. Sort of put down a marker for that. And we know the picks for next year as well.
We do indeed, yeah, which is met with some mixed reaction, I think.
Yes.
So,
would you like to? You can't remember them.
I can't remember off the top of my head. Anyway,
Ty Waffenden, of course.
Well, I think that was a no-brainer, wasn't it?
Greg Hancock.
Not in the eyes of some people, from what you've told me. But
I have heard a couple of people on different social media outlets saying things along the lines, well, he's had his turn. He should let somebody else have a go. And it's like you pointed out, he only won the World Championship last year.
But let's have a look at the full field for next season. Then Bartosz Szmajslik, Leon Madsen, Emil Seifertinoff, Freddie Lindgren, Martin Vasilik, Maciej Janowski, Jason Doyle, Patrick Dudek, Matty Zagar, Niels Christian Iversen, Artem Guta, Antonio Limbach, Ty Waffenden, Max Frick, and the older statesman himself, Greg Hancock, who's declared that he's going to be back competing in the Grand Prix at the age 50. That's quite remarkable, and I think
that's probably been his aim all along, hasn't it?
I think someone pointed as well that he's the first rider to have ridden in a World Championship event in 5 different decades. That is astonishing. So, but
yes, well,
I've got mixed thoughts on Greg getting a pick, to be honest.
It's going to be a lap of honour, really, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. He's had a year out. I know we've seen people like Barry Briggs have years out, but they weren't at the age that Greg Hancock's going to be next year. To be honest, to be fair to him, I don't think he would have taken the pick if he didn't think that he could compete. I don't think he's one of these riders that would just be happy just to turtle around at the back, waving at the crowd.
It would be interesting to see whether he announces his retirement prior to the start of the season, and in a sense that this being his last year in the GPs. Because I just got the feeling that this is something he's been aiming towards.
I'm not sure about that. I remember when Tony Rickardsson did that after he won the 6th championship in 2005. He announced that 2006 would be his last season, and once it became clear, I think it was after about a couple of rounds, that he wasn't going to win it, he just tailed off, and he really just petered out. To be honest, you don't want to see a great of the sport, because Greg Hancock in 4 world championships, he's one of the sport's all-time greats. There's no doubt about that. You don't really want to see a great figure just looking sorry figure at the back.
No, you don't.
Yeah, but Ty Waffenden was an obvious one that picked itself. He's going to be up for it next season because
he had a couple of good races, one in particular.
Yeah, I think he'll take a lot of heart from that, won't he? But I think it was even before he got the injury, the first couple of rounds, he was sort of not really on it. Just didn't look quick enough all season, to be honest. But he'll go away. He'll have a think about that. Of course, his book's doing pretty well in the sales, so
yes.
That's a positive for him to take out of 2019. But he'll be back on it and looking for a 4th championship, I'm sure, in 2020. The big one for me is Antonio Limbach. I was a bit surprised. I was sort of did a bit of double take when I saw that he got one, to be honest.
I suppose how long has he been in it? He's qualified year after year after year without ever really threatening the top 3 places, hasn't he?
I think his best season was about 2006. I think he finished about 5th or 6th in it, but he's not really got anywhere near to that since then. in
He's
that time he has had well documented personal issues away from the track as well. But I was a little bit surprised by that. But I think it's indicative of Sweden's state in the sport at the moment. Since Tony Rigosa stopped, they've not really got anybody that's been coming through. To be honest, I mean, the best one probably is the one who's riding for my club, Jakob Torsell, but I think he's quite some way off competing at that level at the moment. Although he's Swedish champion, so
shall we stick our necks out and decide who's going to be world champion next year? Should we make a season-long prediction pre-season? What do you reckon?
Go for it.
Leon Madsen.
You're going to go Leon
I'm going to go
Madsen?
Leon Madsen. I think he'll take a lot out of this season. Obviously, I think having the small matter of Hans Nielsen alongside him in the pits has helped him as well.
Yes, obviously.
As he's been
certainly helped him with his starts.
as has been his experience with riding in the European Championship as well, because he's managed to win a championship. Okay, not the World Championship.
Well, how close has he come this year? Is it all but for a fuel tap?
Just that one disappointment in Voyens, I think, unfortunately.
Just because it's going to be funny trying to see him think of some GP star now. Who do you think is going to win next year? Webby.
We've got a choice between.
See where I'm at?
16.
The 16 riders that he's just read out to you.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
Yeah, never are.
Just wind the tape back and have a listen.
Other stuff, editing and stuff, and making you look good.
Thought you was asleep, to be honest.
No. You know what I mean?
It's the same thing, isn't it?
You're going to take a rain check on that, are you?
Yeah.
You could have just said Leon Madsen and we'd have all.
You know what? I was just thinking. Why not Leon Madsen?
You wouldn't? Would you rule tired? You certainly wouldn't. Would
Certainly
you?
wouldn't rule him out.
No.
I wouldn't rule out Bartek either.
I'll tell you, who could be a surprise back at next season. Max Frick,
Really?
because he did well in the meetings that he rode in the series this year
What
as a
about
replacement.
Frederick Lindgren. He's not had a bad season, has he?
He's had a good season, to be fair to Freddie.
Been there or thereabouts.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's sort of 34, 35 years of age now, so not getting any younger. Although having said that, Greg Hancock's been winning world championships into his 40s.
Yes, I was just about to say that.
I think it's just a little bit of inconsistency for Freddie, to be honest, this season. To try and get that another medal, but again, another one you wouldn't rule. On look at this all the way down the field on the day. You'd have to say that all of them are capable of turning it on the one night.
I'm sort of thinking of going for Lindback just to see the look on your face when I say that. But I actually think Leon Madsen as well.
Yeah.
I think his form has been quite an eye opener.
Yeah. The real shock merchant for me in the series has been Patrick Duda, because his form was just completely fallen off a cliff.
Yeah.
I mean, at the start of the season, I'd have had him down as a potential winner. I've always rated him very, very highly.
Dudak at the start of the season, I'm not sure now.
I'd have to go back on the tapes.
Yeah.
We don't destroy them, unfortunately, here, do we?
There's somebody that we haven't mentioned, of course, who's had a much better season than but either of us would have predicted, and has sort of shown his mettle once again. That's Emil Seifert.
Yeah, Emil had a good season, to be fair. I mean, I had a feeling he might well turn it around on Saturday, but once he rode that last place in his third ride, I think that although he still rode well for the rest of the meeting, that maybe took a little bit of the wind out of his sails, to be honest. He couldn't really afford any mistakes, and that was a costly one. But, I mean, it's just, to see him back in the medal. I think that's his first medal in 10 years. He got a medal in his first season in 2009, and he's not been really close to it since.
Really 10 years?
10 years, yeah. 10 years since he's infamous.
Talking of 10 years, we should mention this, and then we'll go to the what am I calling it? The shout box. Let's say, and Webby, you can in a minute let everybody know how they can participate. A special date today, isn't it? 3 years since.
3 years since the final meeting at Brandon.
Yeah,
it's hard to believe that, isn't it? Freddie Lindgren won the ELRC that night.
Right. Yeah, I mean 3 years to the day.
Yeah.
It's not happy birthday, but hopefully things are looking,
Well, the last week has been seeing a bit more positive news, isn't it? So,
fingers crossed. We've got a picture that I think, if he's listening, where
I am listening. I'm just very busy.
Which he'll shove up at some point, which is How long ago was that one taken?
It was. I've been told it was last week.
Last week. So the
Yeah.
picture taken of Brandon from last week, which we're going to.
I'll get up in a second.
Yep,
if you just
no
carry on.
problem. In the meantime, well, we won't go to
You
the shout
can't go
box
because I'm trying to get the picture of.
So, but in
It's
a
live
moment,
back here.
yeah, I know.
Without
without sex.
Yeah, all right. It's not going there.
That's the story of your life, isn't it? So yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I can't see that just yet. So I'm just
Okay.
getting it onto the screen so you can see there. There we go. So,
It's a sad state, isn't it?
Sad sight, yeah.
But the track's still there. You can still see the track. Yeah, so that's that.
Jeff Davis has been, again, very bullish on Twitter about the chances of getting back there. He says they've got a team of people who are waiting for the green light to go in and start working and getting the stadium back into some sort of.
I don't think there's a Speedway supporter in the country that wouldn't help if they could.
Mm.
I mean, I'd certainly go and put a shift in if the opportunity arose. I'd probably be saying horrible things about Coventry Speedway riders while I'm doing it, but you gotta have a bit of fun.
But nobody will be happier than us three, I think, if we get to see a Speedway meeting branding, and
absolutely.
we'll keep our fingers crossed that it will happen.
Absolutely.
I do think if anybody can do it, they can.
Right, so let's go up onto the shout box. Alan Etherson says, I don't think Greg should have got a pick, but who else would do a better job? That's,
well, the thing you got to remember as well is Monster Energy, obviously heavily linked with the series as main sponsor, and they're going to want an American rider in.
Yeah, and obviously they did that whole thing of making sure he was at Cardiff as well, which sort of showed their intention.
Obviously we've seen this season, at my club, Lou Becker's made great strides. Brock Nickel as well, who really impressed me when I saw him at when he guested for the Brummies. I think it was against Sheffield. I think he was. It wasn't. He rode for Sheffield, didn't he? It was the week after against Newcastle, I think.
I can't remember, but yeah.
So they're showing a lot of promise, but long way to go yet. But they're probably the next best bets for the Americans at the moment. So
this is an interesting comment, and actually, I now that I'd like to know what the average is for all of the riders. He says Lindback's average was 6.3 points over the GP season. It'd be interesting to know what they all averaged over that GP season, wouldn't it?
I'll see what I can find out for you.
Paul Wood said Stephen Whitehouse. I don't know why. But there you go. Simon Corbett said Madsen for me. I presume we're talking about predictions
World
for next
Championship
year.
next year.
Alan Atherson tie.
Ben said he's missed the start. Can he catch up? I'll just rewind for you, Ben.
That was fairly predictable, that was, wasn't it? And not very well done either.
No,
it wasn't.
Give me best.
Please don't do that ever again.
Okay.
Ty will get his world title back next season. Well, as we said, we wouldn't rule that out.
Well, as a British man, I certainly
Alan Atherton says you've missed nothing. That's about right.
He knows us so well.
Best rider from Brazil ever, Lindback Pelly on two wheels. I thought he was from Sweden.
He's got Brazilian
heritage, yeah.
So,
He's nuts.
I've heard that before as well.
Top 5 qualify next year, and the SEC winner qualifies too. That's interesting. I did not know that. We had Spoiler Doyle. I mean, we haven't mentioned Jason Doyle, who's sort of got himself up into that top.
Rode well on recovered from a real nonsense decision to pull that race back when he didn't move. So
yeah. That's happened to him.
If we can get, if they can get transponders to work at times in races there, then can we not get transponders in to help referees know when a rider's moved or not? So
that's a good point.
So
Craig Smith says I think it could be the strongest GP field yet. And Brian Buck isn't happy. I can't see why he's not happy until Webby gives him a bit of a lift.
Not happy. Telling
There
you.
you go. An unbelievable decision made by the National League coordinator last Saturday to prevent Cradley Heath from using rider replacement for Jack Smith, who was riding in the Czech Republic, but allowing Leicester to use this facility for Luke Roddick, who was away watching the GP in Poland. Both riders preferred to be elsewhere rather than ride for their team, so why treat them differently? Wouldn't have made much difference to the outcome of the Leicester-Cradley match, I know, but yet another case of the ridiculous. I wasn't aware of that, and yeah, it does seem ridiculous.
Well, it just seems like, we'll make a decision for you that'll affect you, but not for you, because
It's that not being transparent
yeah,
again.
perception, isn't it? I think we've said that before, so it's just it is just frustrating, and we'd like to see a bit more transparency, I think, in Speedway.
Gone too far with that one. Because I wanted to, Dylan Spuddy Spuddy. I just call him Spuddy.
Buddy.
Or Spud. Do you think Max Frick will do a Freddie and take a season out of British Speedway next season to focus on the Worlds and just race his league racing in Sweden and Poland?
I wouldn't be surprised if he does another year in the UK at least.
I think a lot of that will depend on what happens in
the leagues.
What leagues we've got and how many teams and etc. etc. I think he probably needs another season here, doesn't he? He was not quite
almost
there,
certainly, yeah.
Time Freddie next year. Emil, my other choice over the GPs. He actually finished top from the 28 formats. So Graham Darlington has chosen 3 people to be world champion next year. That's called hedging your bets, I think. Yeah, so let's focus our attention a little bit on to the different playoffs that are going. No surprise that Leicester beat Cradley.
Wasn't really a surprise, was it, to be honest?
They were never in it in either leg, really, was
Yeah.
they? I'm going to feel a bit sorry for Cradley in the sense that their home leg wasn't home. I know some of their riders have got experience of our track, but not.
Well, you were there, so what was your views on the meetings from racing wise? And
I've got to say, I'm so glad we're in the championship. It did highlight the fact to me that the championship racing is so much better than National League racing. Don't get me wrong; there was a couple of entertaining, but it was a lot of strung-outedness and a lot of riders that are obviously learning, which is what the National League's for, of course. So I think the National League is a good product in one sense, but the racing is so much better in the championship, so much more cut and thrust, and so much the riders are riding closer together because they trust each other to an extent.
Yeah.
As far as the meeting was concerned, Cradley were never in it. Never really in it. I've got to say a big. I can't believe I'm saying this. A big shout out to the Cradley fans, because they come 7 o'clock. I thought, "Ooh, this isn't a very good crowd." 7:30, I changed my mind when it wasn't a bad crowd at all. And about 5-6 heats in, it was obviously who was going to win, but all the Cradley fans stayed there and cheered every time their rider, not very often, won a race. It was interesting to see. I thought Jack Smith's not riding anywhere near as
no, he's nowhere near the level he was when he was at Birmingham, wasn't he? So
which is sad to see.
Yeah,
because
we all know what a talent Jack is.
Yeah, absolutely. So, other than that, I haven't really got.
It was no real surprise, was it? I don't think. I mean, Leicester were always favourites.
The rest of I think that the scoreline was further apart than perhaps I would have predicted. That I did predict.
Yeah.
And I don't like feeling sorry for Cradley fans. It doesn't sit well. And of course, they've got an uncertain winter. There's news filtering through that Plymouth are talking about making the jump.
I've heard this. That shocks me, to be honest.
I've heard it from different sources, and Kent as well are thinking.
Kent, not so much, because I think Kent's ambition is to move up into
it's a great little track as well.
Into a higher league obviously it's on the basis that they get planning permission to change the race nights.
So you have to worry for the National League as a league. Will there be a team
I've said
to
this-
make it viable next year?
I think a lot of it's going to depend on whether Leicester and Bellevue
Exactly.
running it,
Exactly so.
to be honest. Because they're the two major forces in the league. Kent obviously have done well as well. Of course, they're in the final with Leicester. So
That's going to be a good final as well.
yeah, I mean, it's got the potential to be a really good one there. I mean, Kent have had a good season. Leicester, they got some a lot of riders in that league who are obviously developing, but have got experience of winning that league before. Of course, Daniel Hume, of course, has won it. Was it twice with Birmingham? Did he ride in 2015?
Yes, I think yes,
towards the end, didn't he? So
2016, yeah, he won the two leagues. I don't think he rode at the end of the season, unless he's never actually been part of the team that's won.
Yeah,
because he's been
because of injuries.
On both occasions. So that'll be a new experience for him should he win.
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
Kent are not going to be a pushover.
No. But I mean, I've said this for a few weeks. The National League has got problems.
Mm-hmm.
They've lost. It's lost Stoke now, of course.
Yep.
Cradley, there's still a little bit of a question mark over Cradley. Particularly, of course, if there's more teams in the Premiership next season, and Wolves get more after you have to have more dates.
Yeah. Because there is rumours of a team moving up.
Yeah, Plymouth, of course, possibly going to be moving up. If those rumours are true, Kent looking to move up. Eastbourne and Birmingham have already moved up. We've lost Buxton. It's not good times, I don't think, for the National League. And
it's tough.
When you consider 2 or 3 years ago, the National League was probably the
where
strongest.
Everybody was heading.
Yeah,
where we headed, where
the strongest of the three leagues. And
let's go back to the shout box. Don't think Frick will fare that well. Others have dipped into the series with success, but going full-time brings added pressure. Seems a nice kid with a bit of a ruthless streak on track, so hopefully I'm proved wrong. Coming back to that, was you surprised Robert Lambert didn't get a pick?
No. I think he's probably another year away. I think he's stalled a little bit.
I think
this season, to be honest.
I think
he had his problems with the injuries, of course, yeah. Accept that, but maybe another year, I think, for Robert. But he is still our best bet after Ty, I think so.
Alan Atherton says, Brian Buck, why should it be allowed without consulting the BSPA or National League coordinator? Rules are there for a reason. I think that Brian's, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, I know you will. I think Brian's complaint wasn't that rules were adhered to, but that they weren't fairly administered, or consistently administered. That was one rule for one and another rule for another. And yet you would think that as Brian said, both chose not to ride for their team, so why treat them differently? There has been plenty of criticism about the 8 wildcard picks in the last week. How about we have a mini GP series for the GP Challenge, maybe 3 meetings with 16 riders. The top 8 then qualify for a one-off meeting against the bottom 8 of the GP field. The final top riders from the final one-off meeting then qualify for the GP series the following season. Seems a fair alternative.
Well, we had that when the GP first started in the mid-90s.
I think Webby's catching up there. Yeah.
I'm just trying to use Pythagoras' theorem.
I've got a calculator here.
I think I know what you mean.
Yeah, so the top 8 used to go automatically through to the following year's series, and then the next 8, or I think it was 6 actually, went into the GP Challenge with the qualifiers throughout the World Championship, and those used to go through the Grand Prix Challenge right at the end of the season.
I think that's not a bad idea because it means that the GP riders haven't got to worry about doing the GP riding and qualifying for a GP series.
I don't like the fact that riders who are in this season's GP also went into the qualifying rounds.
Yeah,
I think you should. If you're in the series full time, I don't think you should be, because you've got the situation with Matty Zagar, who's never looked like getting in the top 8, but he qualifies through the championship every year. I mean, fair play to him for doing it. Because I suppose
he's only operating with the rules.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose his argument is, well, I've proved I'm going to have to qualify, so I'm entitled to be in it, which is a fair point.
Fair point,
yeah. It's. I don't. As I say, they tried it before, and they changed it for whatever reason. I'm not really sure the reasons why, to be honest. But
only in Speedway.
Yeah, but I can remember when we went to when I went to Norway to watch the last GP in, I think it was 2003, I think it was. And on the way over, we had a bit of a fans forum, if you like, with Chris Van Stratton and Garth Rogers.
Garth Rogers,
yep. And just name dropping there. So, and, you know, I mean, it's a fair few years ago, but I think Chris had said that something along the lines of, you know, that this was during this, while there was still a lot of debate going on between the promoters about why we're losing dates to the GPs. And his argument was, well, the GP isn't the problem, it's all the qualifying rounds. So I don't know whether that was anything to do with it, whether they got rid of it to try and, you know, free up more dates for league racing. But yeah,
that was my first thought when I saw all these different. The original premise was like, this is a lot of meetings that all of a sudden people aren't going to be available for their league clubs, and without league racing, there is no GP racing.
That's right.
So that sometimes seems to be forgot. Teresa Carmen, I'm more interested in whether we will ever get any of the top boys racing over here again, or will we just lose more?
As things stand, I mean, I agree with what Graham said there. As things stand, no. We're very fortunate in the fact that Jason Doyle still rides over here, but
will he be riding over here next year?
Interestingly, if there's more meetings next season, will he still want to race over here? Because obviously, if it's a fuller calendar, then with his GP commitments as well, then, you know, he may well decide, no, I'll skip Britain next year. Right. And he certainly wouldn't be the first one to do it.
Also, there's talks of them having a lower sort of averages, which might rule him out.
Yeah.
Because I know that's something that Alan Rossiter's been sort of talking about and saying, you know, that he doesn't want to happen. Why would he say that if he didn't, unless he thought that might be what's being thought about? Doyle, Ty and Fred all quit. Sweden in a worse state than the UK. No money.
Can I just point something out there? I mean, people talk about the Premiership not having enough teams. The Swedish League and the Polish League, they haven't got that many more teams in their top league.
No, they haven't.
To be honest, which is...
yeah.
But I suppose you could argue, well...
Particularly Sweden.
Yeah, Sweden has
got a very short season.
Sweden have got all sorts of problems, I think. Not just internationally, you know, I don't think they've got that much in the way of great talent coming through. Anthony
Bailey, the Cradley National League meeting was very poor. I agree, GA, I wouldn't watch that anymore. And Spuddy, bit of fun. If you pick one rider from your team from this season to like this, I like this question. Like everybody else, go for this. Bit of fun. If you could pick one rider from your team from this season to build next season's team around, who would it be? For me at Wolves, it would be Luke Becker. If I can keep hold of that kid for years to come, he'll take them far.
I agree with that. Luke Becker would be the one that I'd be.
I'm now going to have to think of one from Birmingham. Who would we build our team around?
Well, let's have your riders. We'll have everyone's riders of the year as well.
Yeah.
And as I said last week, rider of the decade, because of course it's 2019, so that'll give people a bit of a
rider of the decade in your team,
in your club. Yeah.
Well, I can give you that. I can give you our rider of the decade straight away. You can probably guess it. Straight, Jason Lyons has been it's been our rider of the decade.
Did he ride for Birmingham this decade?
I'm not sure. Actually.
Hang on, no,
he didn't.
He rode in 2000.
He rode in 2010. 2011. Because Birmingham went into the elite league in 2011. So he rode for a red car. I think was it.
I think it was.
Where's that team?
I'll have to have a rethink now, because obviously over the three leagues,
it's difficult for Birmingham because Birmingham in that time have ridden in three different leagues.
Yeah,
about 70 riders.
I think for Wolves.
Okay, I will have a think. I've thought of 6 riders already.
Yeah. I think with my club, it would probably have to be Freddie Lindgren, and he's been consistent over the period of time. Although he's not
Ty Waffenham. Has he rode for you in this decade?
Not rod. I don't think he's ridden over here enough, really.
Right.
Unfortunately, so.
If Swindon get through in the Premier League, Leicester will be missing their number one Perks at our place next Monday. Another case of doubling up and biting the sport in the bum again. Can't disagree with that.
Absolutely.
Spuddy, I can understand Jack Smith missing it. He didn't start the season with Cradley, did he? I presume he'd have had the check meeting lined up and Cradley would have known about it before signing him. Having said that, BSBA shooting themselves in the foot with their lack of transparency, and I think that is the bottom line. And we spoke about it time and time again. And there's the transparency and perception. We're spitting in the wind.
It's frustrating, isn't it? It is,
And I just mix my metaphors because it's spitting in the rain, but you understood what I mean.
Yeah.
What I meant.
No, I didn't.
No change there then. Alan Atherton, BSPA aren't at fault in this one for a change, okay? Doyle will ride. Got no Sweden.
No, well, of course, Ty Wuffin's not riding in Sweden next year either.
No, he isn't. But
I certainly wouldn't be getting the bunting out, bringing him back to racing in the UK just yet.
Yeah, because
I don't think he will.
Okay,
I think of the
I don't. He's not showing any signs of wanting to.
Of the two, Freddie Lindgren and Ty Wuffin, and I would say Ty is probably the more likely to come back to the UK.
Really,
at the moment, mainly because of the link with Peter Adams.
Brian Buck, that's true. As I understand it, the ruling was made by the National League coordinator, not the BSPA. Clearly, you have more knowledge of the background to all this than I do, so I'll wait and see what, if anything, eventually comes out.
Okay. Yeah, you've got more knowledge than Buck. Surely.
Matt's keeping very quiet at this point.
Yeah. I've got to go.
So Anthony Bailey says Adam Ellis is Birmingham's rider of the decade. And I can see some sympathy for that. But then you what about people like King,
Martin Smolinski,
Ben Bark, and Martin Smolinski? I was going to say even Nico Cavati had a big impact when he first came over for us.
It's difficult, really, isn't it? Because if you think a lot of these riders, they only stay with the club for 2-3 years. It's not like,
No, particularly because we moved leagues, of course.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So,
Spud, for the Brummies, I try and keep hold of Garrity. He's been a breath of fresh air, especially at Perry Bar. I can't disagree with that. I love his attitude to racing, which is never give up.
The only thing I would say with Jason Garrity, which would be a concern, is that he doesn't tend to stay anywhere that long, does it? Because,
But why is that?
But by all accounts, I mean, I don't know Jason Garrity very well, but by all accounts, he can sometimes be quite difficult to deal with.
Right.
If that's not true, then I apologise. But I mean, that's just that from hearsay, really. From
Spuddy says, Shanesy, he did a superb job this season on track and off.
Yeah, I've got to say, I was really pleased that he won the.
Won everything.
He's had a damn good season as well, hasn't he?
He's had a good season.
And he's a nice lad as well. He's a nice fella, James.
I loved his T-shirt. He came out with 100% Brummie, which apparently is one of the girls brought for him earlier in the day. Chris has said thanks for sharing the stream and for all the season.
Are we doing a draw tonight?
Yes, we are. Yeah, we're doing one for last week. Yeah, and I'll do another one during the week for tonight's. Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, we should talk a little bit about this. Obviously, this is our last, I can call it meeting, show of the season.
This meeting wasn't rained off,
no. But we, depending on what happens in the AGM.
No, I don't think it's got to that level yet.
Depending on what happens in the AGM, if that's worth reporting, then we will do a special show about that.
Yeah.
But
we normally do anyway, don't we?
We normally do. There's normally something to moan about. So
yeah.
And we may even do a Christmas show. Who knows? But that's not guaranteed.
We'll come dressed up.
Anthony Bailey, Birmingham should build their team around James Shanes and Ashley Morris, both on cracking averages. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Totally agree with that. Love James wearing his 100% Brummie T-shirt on Friday. Must get our skipper and mate back. I mean, It's just showed it. I mean, and he wants to ride. That's an important thing.
Yeah, he wants to stay at Birmingham.
Yeah, he says there's nowhere else to go. He wants to go to. So I thought it's very going a bit Bromley-centric now, so I apologise. I thought it was very interesting because you was there as well. What I'll think of his name in a minute. My mind's gone. The Italian.
Not Paco Castagna.
Paco Castagna, yes, thank you very much. What he said when he was being interviewed, he made it known, did he not?
Yeah.
That other people were trying to get his signature. I thought that was quite a canny move on his part.
Yeah, I didn't notice whether Lawrence Rogers reacted to that or.
I didn't notice either,
Yeah.
but the room went ooh for a second, didn't it? So that was politics rearing its head, I think. King and Barker rode for 3 years. They were as a
Pairing, weren't they?
as a package and as a pairing.
Yeah.
They were brilliant, weren't they? They knew what each other was doing, and the 5 ones that they got for us in Heat 15, sometimes when they were needed. Ruddick didn't withdraw his services. Okay, that's from Alan Matheson. So John Bulmer wants to know, are you going out on the town after Webby? You're all dressed
I
up.
put a comb through me here now and again.
Is that a shave as well?
Oh, no, I'm
It's not even Christmas.
Oh, no, yeah.
Got to be Robert Lambert at Lynn, rider of the decade. Yeah, I can't think of.
Not Neil Stephen. He was good, I think he really developed as a rider there and established himself as a top class rider when he was king.
Robert Lambert from nowhere, hasn't he? And that's always exciting when that happens as a fan. Yeah, we'll do that in a minute, Webby. I know
I'm
you're
I'm
anxious.
just staying there until we get it ready.
Yeah.
Well, we are going to ask the winner tonight, aren't we?
Yes.
We are, yeah.
I don't think anybody would be surprised. Although I was. I mean, I can't believe I come up quite so much. Anyway. Lawrence Rogers with Jason, it is knowing how to handle him. Spent several years with him
at Coventry.
Yeah. I have to say, I have sort of seen in the pits occasionally this year both Lawrence and David Mason talking to Jason Garrity, sort of, I guess, keeping his head in the game a little bit and so on. So
I think
seemed to be a rapport there.
I think the advantage really that Birmingham are going to have in that situation is, of course, David Mason being an ex-rider, so he sort of knows how a rider's mind works and about sort of emotional control and things like that.
Riders have a mind.
Yeah,
okay. Right.
And emotional control, which is very, very important in any sport. So.
Okay, a bit of a to and froing on between Jack Wright and Alan Atherton. I think I'll just
Alan doing it again. Is stirring the pot again, are you, Alan?
It's a fairly reasonable conversation. I don't think I'm going to get involved. Is all. Who's pulled the plug out, Webby? What? That's what Sean's Simo, because can everybody hear us? Let us know if you can hear us. I'm not so worried about that bit.
No.
Yeah, not the way I'm feeling today.
It's okay.
It's all okay. I think the answer then is you. Sean Simo Simpson, possibly.
Still here.
Yeah. Well, I guess we've waited long enough. Should we do the draw? Get that out of the way first.
Oh, yeah, good idea.
For the T-shirt.
And I can...
So every week you guys share, and we put your name in this. Can't call it a teapot, can we? In this little trophy that we have.
Yep.
It's bigger than the National League trophy.
There you go.
Go on, then.
Nothing's bigger than your head. And whoever we pick out will win a T-shirt.
And the winner is Martin Guest. Congratulations, Martin.
Martin,
Yep.
Well done, Martin. Just let Webby know via the different channels where you are, and we'll send that off to you post haste. And please, take a photo of yourself wearing the T-shirt so we can put it up on our Rogues gallery behind me. And anybody else that's had a T-shirt, we'd love to see a picture of you either at a Speedway match wearing them or I was going to say in the bath, but that's not true. The way my mind works, it surprises even me.
No one knows how
sometimes.
your mind works. But you're going to get locked up for it one day.
Lawrence Rogers, go back on it to read that. That was interesting. Talking about the Paco, yes, I did react. Amazingly, if other clubs have approached him, they haven't asked permission, as you should. I think that was a little bit of mischief on his part. I got to be honest. Craig Smith, seeing a couple of videos on Facebook of the Kent versus Bellevue Colts meeting. The track was ridiculously wet. The riders were struggling to turn the bike, and the racing for the paying public was very poor. I believe one of the heats finished 12 seconds slower than the National League track record. It should have been called off. It was a farce. I mean, that happens at this time of year, unfortunately.
Yeah,
doesn't
unfortunately, it does.
It's one of the reasons I don't like playoffs.
I've just seen Ben's comment there about Anders Rowe. So.
Oh, come on then. Okay.
Yeah,
any news on Anders Rowe? I just got this feeling that when we open for business again next year, that's going to be the first comment.
Probably, yeah.
Have you heard how Anders Rowe? I'm not apologising again there. I can't. Lawrence Rogers was a great night Friday with great spirit between the lads. Carry on into Birmingham later and breakfast in the morning. Yeah, I've seen some of the pictures of the after. Paco's the life and soul of that
character,
group,
isn't he?
Yeah.
Spoke to him quite a few times, obviously, my work with Rerun, so yeah, good lad. Good lad. And I think there's a good chance he will be back at Birmingham next year, to be honest. I think he's...
I'd be surprised if he wasn't. I mean, he's an asset for a starter.
And he has done well. I mean, I think a lot of people were a bit sort of raised eyebrows when he signed for Birmingham because he didn't really make.
There was more than raised eyebrows. There was derision, wasn't there?
Jaws on the floor, I think, weren't there?
Yeah, there was actual derision.
Yeah.
But he's, fair play to him. He's and he just feels like he's the sort of guy that will go back over the winter and think about things and work out how he makes things better. So, hopefully, anyway. Yeah. Last ever match at Tilehurst Reading on this day, 1973.
Who was it?
All the history coming out there. Hello.
I've got to say, Kevin Long has said, I've contributed various comments over the weeks, and like tonight, you seem to skip over them. Reading out the one before after mine. I'm getting a complex now, says Kevin Long.
Oh, I haven't seen anything. Have you seen anything?
No.
Where is he posting?
If we have, I'm really, really sorry. We don't mean to skip over it. Sometimes we'd like to catch up.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about stuff that
I can only put what you show me, of course.
Yeah.
Is he posting on the show box?
Yeah, no, he's yeah. Right, just blame me.
Post something up and we'll make sure we read it. I promise you.
Yeah.
Okay. The racing was good for the conditions. Well, that's like saying, I don't know, something that I can't think of at the moment. But you know what I'm saying. Kevin Long, I've contributed various comments over the weeks, and I'm going to read it out. And like tonight, you seem to skip over them, reading the one before and after mine. I'm getting
that's twice we've read that now. So.
Yeah. Kevin, I'm really, really sorry. It's not intentional. I don't know what to say really. As Kevin, I agree about Danny. Or Kevin, I agree about Danny. What was that about him being a rider of the season, possibly? Is there a date set for the AGM? Yes, there is, and I knew it this morning, and I don't know it now. But I bet you,
week in November?
It's in November.
Fantastic broadcasting journalism.
But there's a man out there that will know. Lawrence, over to you, mate. Dave Twine, I saw that Adam Roynan might be back next season. I spoke to Adam Roynan a couple of weeks back, actually, because he was at the track with his son, who I think is going to be a Speedway rider by the looks of it. It's only about 3 or 4 at the moment, but he was riding. He was doing practice starts on his bike, his push bike. Stuff. Adam said he's coming back next year. That's what he said to me. So, Would he be good enough to come ride for the Brummies? Depends what his average is. It always depends on average, doesn't it?
It's always a bit of a gamble with Adam because of his reputation with.
I tell you what, he's the unlucky. I never thought of Adam as being a particularly dangerous sort of rider that's going to fall off. Yeah. And, he's always looked good on a bike and in control. I mean, when he first started, he was everybody was predicting him for very big things. He looked the business, didn't they?
I thought he had the potential to be a GP rider.
Yeah,
when I first saw him ride.
Well, I mean, he'd got when he had his first big injury was riding with the Great Britain team at King's Lynn, and
he was,
his front wheel came off. Where? That's not good radio. It was all of a sudden busting out laughing. Ben T-Boy Clifton says, I imagine the Christmas special Speedway Tavern, you will be spoiling it for Anders Rowe and revealing his Christmas presents early.
Can I just warn you, there's a Kevin Long post coming up soon.
Okay, right. Maybe you should get to it. Paul and Rawlin, same as me, missing my comments too. I'm sorry.
I think people start writing in.
Thank you, Lawrence. The AGM is November the 13th to the 15th.
Kevin Long, should we skip past it?
No. Kevin Long, Danny King, rider of the decade at Ipswich, fiercely loyal and great servant to the club. He's a great rider.
Yeah, he's a good lad as well. Nice lad.
Every week, without fail.
Does he set this on a time or it's random?
Spuddy says, is that the Championship and Premiership AGM? I would imagine yes.
Yes.
Jeff Daniel said Split Waterman sadly passed away.
Sorry.
Split Waterman. I'll see if I can get a bit more information on that one.
It's a reminder that there is now 11 minutes left of
the season for us, yeah. And possibly if you're a Wolverhampton supporter, there's probably another 3 or 4 weeks if the weather keeps up like this.
Probably will be.
Split Waterman, did he ride for Birmingham at one point?
Don't think he did. He was. I think he was second in the World Championship a couple of times back in the 50s, wasn't he? So
that's a great name, isn't it? Split Waterman.
Yeah, he was a good rider by all accounts as well. So I'll see if I can try and find a bit more information while we're.
Christmas show being sponsored by M&M's. Fine.
Or Lemsip.
Yeah, we'll take it. We'll take it.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna have to reveal the winner.
Oh yes, let's do that. Gosh, I forgot about that.
You forgot about that because you've slipped so far down.
I understand. I've made a bit of ground. I reckon we have another couple more weeks of the season. I'd win the thing.
Yeah, of course you'll do.
Yeah. So shall we do the top 10 in reverse order?
Okay, then. I won't put the table onto that screen just yet. Then and then we'll.
You want me to read it out?
Yeah, and then I'll reveal the winner.
Okay. So in 10th place, it's amazing how this guy. It's been very unlucky actually. This guy in 10th place.
Lucky that he's got rock scores wrong. So.
I'm lucky that everybody else is better than him. I think. So it's myself in 10th. Simon Corbett came 9th. Jeff Daniels 8th. Chris Vincent 7th. Webby.
Yeah.
How did you end up in 6th place? You were in front of everybody for so long, and nobody knew how.
Yeah, no, I still don't.
Because he was basically what we didn't tell you was he'd got a dice in the back and he was just rolling them. 7th for Webby. Alan Atherton came 4th came Paul PVL Racing, who was leading for a while, wasn't he?
No, it was 3rd at one, 2nd and 3rd.
Matt on the podium.
Well done.
3rd.
Well done. Yeah.
You at the beginning of the season, I was
about 15th at one point, wasn't I? So
that's pretty good going. Duncan Pemberton came 2nd, and Ben Clifton came 1st. There we go. Put that up. So
well done, Ben.
That.
Well done. Okay.
We're sending the prize, aren't we?
Yes.
What are we sending him?
I'll get some goodies together. You'll have another T-shirt.
Okay.
I'll find some of the stuff as well that we've got. Yeah.
So you are the first ever winner of the Speedway Tavern Prediction League.
Well, of course, we will be doing it next year, I presume. So
yes, we will. Right from the beginning.
We only started it halfway through the season, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
Yeah. So
I had the
I'll be concentrating next season, so watch out.
Oh yeah.
No points for Webby next year. Probably not for me. The way Lee said best, I think.
Well, at least you salvaged a top 10 place, didn't you? So
I did, yeah.
It
didn't look likely at one point. I think if I remember right, the very first week I was on top of the league.
No, I think you pair were joint top.
Joint top, that was it, yeah. Because there was only us two doing it, is that what?
Yeah.
So, Spuddy, I'm well buzzing to have got the points I did in the Predictions League this season, considering I only did a few of them. We'll try to do the full season next year. Well,
please don't make fun of me.
I can't read that.
The top one says, why don't you carry on throughout the close season? Let's move on.
Well, no, let's answer that because we don't want to. No, look, it's nice to come back recharged.
It is, yeah.
But we will, as I say, we will do an AGM. No idea what time. What we'll probably start the week before the season starts.
Yeah.
Do our predictions. We've got a chap that might be coming on. I can't remember his name now, but you remember from last week. So we'll get in touch with him and see if we can coordinate.
And we don't
with that.
really like being in the same rooms as each other too often, do we? To be fair? Contrary to what people think, we just don't like each other at all. So.
Well, why would you? You're a Wolverhampton supporter. I'm a Birmingham supporter, and he's football supporter. So, yeah. What can I say? Brian Buck, Split Waterman only ever rode for London clubs: Wembley, Haringey, New Cross, and Wimbledon. He was allocated to Bellevue by their then control board, but declined to go there. A bit like Ollie Olsen.
Declined to go to Hull.
Yeah.
So he got sent to Coventry instead.
Teresa Carmen, there's always tons to talk about. We're saving our sport or trying to. Well, do you know what? That is what we're trying to do. I think that's what we're trying to do here, isn't it?
And we have been for 10 years.
Yeah. So far, so good.
Well, we haven't been arrested yet, so.
Yeah. Give us a break. Let's have a rest, please. Alan Hatherton, 5th, happy with that. Simon Corbett, happy with that. Missed the first week. And Kevin says, haha. Ben T-Boy Clifton, yay, thanks guys, really enjoyed the league, made meetings of no interest, interesting. That's true, I never thought of that. It's true, yeah. Teresa Carmen, leave all the predictions to you guys. I'm crap at it, go with my heart, not head. You're following the Webby.
So am I.
Yeah. I want to recount, don't like the result. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
Absolutely brilliant. Webby, KRO.
Oh, good.
Well done.
And for those of you that don't understand what that means,
Keep right on down the league, isn't it?
yes. At the moment. That is true.
And we've caught up. We've finally caught up.
Well, that's the first time we've done that this year.
Caught up with you.
And that seems a good way to sort of finish. I'd like to finish with a couple of things. First of all, thank you to all the riders that have kept us entertained over the year. And thank you to the riders we like and to the riders that we don't like, because without the villains, it wouldn't be half as much fun. Thank you to every single one of the promoters that are keeping our sport alive.
Yep.
But most of all, thank you to all of you guys out there watching the sport, listening to our show, taking part and keeping it real. Thank you very much. Hopefully we will see you in November.
Yep.
If we don't, I'll say Merry Christmas now.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Of course, we will be back next season anyway. So
yes, we're definitely going to be back next season. Taking the mickey out of Dirty Scunthorpe.
Anders Rowe getting sacked.
Anders Rowe getting sacked. Wolverhampton finishing bottom of the league for a change. And Birmingham doing much better.
Full bottle in the playoffs. So.
Yeah. It's all good stuff. Thanks again for your support. It's been brilliant this year.
Yes, it's been great year. Enjoyed this
best year. So, thank you very much. And we will see you hopefully in November. Take care, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Enjoy your stay. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. What's the news today? Have a drink, have your say. All opinions here today. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Enjoy your stay. Webby.